Welcome to live coverage of Election 2012. Debate and forum coverage on WDXY AM Sumter and WIBZ FM Wedgefield Sumter is brought to you in part by NBSC of Manning, a division of Synovus Bank. Stokes Craven Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Manning, the City of Manning, and Radio Shack of Manning. And now we go live to coverage of Election 2012.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the F.E. DuBose Center Auditorium at the Central Carolina Technical College campus in Manning, South Carolina. Tonight, we bring you the first in a series of our item debate series involving the Senate District 36 race, as we have 4 candidates searching to represent the areas that involve Sumter and Clarendon counties for the next 4 years in the General Assembly. My name's Braden Bunch. I am the Assistant Managing Editor at the item, and joining me on stage tonight as moderator is Derek Burris from Good Morning Sumter and from Miller Communications. Tonight's forum is being broadcast live on WDXY 1240 AM, 105.9 FM, and WIBZ 95.5 FM. As we begin the night, we have all 4 candidates already on the stage. Before we began this evening, they all chose randomly their orders in which they will speak. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for an opening statement to you, the voters, to convince you why they should be representing you for the next 4 years in Columbia. Once we get done with that, we'll go to the forum questions in which each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the questions we have before them. And then at the end of the night, they will have an additional minute for any closing arguments they may like to make. We begin the night with Leon Winn, the representative for the Republican candidate for District 36.
Good afternoon. My name is Leon Winn, Republican candidate for District 36. I'm the former Mid-Georgia resident, live in Sumter, been in South Carolina for over 38 years now. All of my adult life basically have been in South Carolina. I'm a graduate of Mars College, as well as Overcoming Outreach School of Religion. I'm also a prior Air Force individual, where I spent 16 years in the military. I'm also married to Christina Winn. We have 3 daughters, 1 grandson and 2 grandchildren. I'm the pastor of Rock Hill Missionary Baptist Church, where I've been there for 16 years. I believe that there's time that we need to make a change, and the only way you can make a change is to change the people that have been doing things. I'm the candidate, and be frankly, boldly, I'm the one to vote for.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. Our next candidate will be Eleazer Carter.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Eleazer Carter. I'm from the Ramsey community, which is right in between Manning and Somerton. I am a graduate of Scotts Branch High School, a graduate of the South Carolina State College. I'm also a graduate of the University of South Carolina School of Law. I did attend law school at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Also, I am a military veteran. I am a Desert Storm veteran from the first George Bush. I have training, combat training. I am a licensed attorney here in Manning, South Carolina. I have been practicing law ever since I graduated from school in 1988. I am a candidate for Senate District 36. I believe that I am the better of the choices, and I believe that I am the better of the choices because of my military training, my educational training, my activities that I have been participating in and active in, such as working on a school board, having been on a school board for 13 years, helping develop a budget for a school board, and numerous other activities which I hope we'll get an opportunity to address tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Our next candidate, Mr. Shaun Kent.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Especially those out in radio land. It's kind of exciting to be here right now. I'm looking out in a room and I see some incredible people who I've had the pleasure of meeting since I've been running for this campaign. My name is Shaun Kent. I'm an attorney in the community. I'm probably the guy who's not exactly from the community. I'm sure we'll all hear that a lot tonight. We've heard it throughout the course of the election. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and fortunately about 13 years ago when I was a prosecutor down in Charleston, South Carolina, I had the privilege of coming through Clarendon County one day. My job as a prosecutor brought me to Clarendon County to look for some stuff that we needed to relocate in the district. And when I came into Clarendon County, I came over that rickety bridge coming from Santee all the way over into Manning, and they had that huge sign that said, with a picture of the fish, and they said the fish aren't this big, but it kind of seemed that way. I came into Clarendon County, and I'm going to tell you honestly, immediately I fell in love with the place. I thought it was an amazing place with a lot of potential. It reminded me of my hometown of Summerville, South Carolina. And I believed in the potential of the place to the point that I came here, and I kept coming here, and I kept coming here, and kept coming here to the point that I don't want to leave. I was one of the guys who sat at home left and right and complained about all of the problems inside of the district. And I looked at myself one day in the mirror and said, if you're going to be one of the people who are going to complain about it, you need to be somebody who's going to do something about it. So that's why I'm running. It's time to do something about it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. And our final candidate, the Democratic nominee, Kevin Johnson.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone. It's good to see everybody, and I want to also begin my remarks, as I always do, by thanking the item and by thanking Miller Communications for hosting this forum. As I said before, it's very important for the citizens and the voters to get to know the candidates. I'm going to also do what I always fail to do, and I'm going to introduce my family. To begin with, my wife and my 2 daughters and my son are here with us, and we're glad to have them here, as well as we are a lot of our campaign committee. I am Representative Kevin Johnson. I live in Manning, lifelong resident of Manning. I'm a 1978 honor graduate of Manning High School, and I graduated from the University of South Carolina with a degree in management and marketing. I offer myself to you as a candidate that has the experience, and as I said, I think you will hear that a lot tonight, because as I travel around the 4-county area, it's been brought to my attention that experience does matter. I have served for 11 years as the mayor of Manning, 6 years on city council. Prior to that, I served 12 years as a member of the Clarendon School District 2 Board of Trustees, 3 terms as chairman. I served on the Clarendon County Chamber of Commerce Board, the Library Board. I'm an active member of Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church, where I've been for a long time, the chairman of our trustee board and our financial secretary. I currently serve on the Santee Lynch's Regional Council Board, former chairman, also the South Carolina Association of Regional Councils, and I currently serve in the South Carolina House of Representatives, where it's my pleasure to represent Clarendon and Williamsburg County.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you once again for obeying the time rules that we have. I didn't explain this at the very beginning, but as you can see, this right here, this means 15 seconds. This means stop. If you don't stop when this comes up, by golly, we'll tell you to stop. Anyway, let's get back to the questions now, starting with Mr. Winn, and all of you will be answering this first question. And the question is, gentlemen, like in the neighboring Senate district in Sumter, there is no incumbent among you, as you are all seeking to replace Senator John Land, who has represented District 36 since first being elected in 1976. For your first question tonight, what do you personally take from the Land legacy, and what is the main stance you plan to either adopt or change from Senator Land's office? Mr. Winn, we start with you.
Well, personally, I can't elaborate on Senator Land's office. I know Senator Land. I met him, don't know him on a personal level. But one of the things that I want to incorporate into my campaign is job, education, low taxes. One of the things we have to get back to is bringing jobs in the community. Everybody's going to talk about bringing jobs in the community. Everybody's going to talk about education. But what people are looking for now is a workforce. Companies, when they come into our county, they're looking for a workforce. They're looking for people now that have work values, work ethics. One of the things that I want to implement is bringing people back to basic work ethics. If you get work ethics as you begin grade school, throughout high school, it will build into the job force. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. Mr. Carter, your turn.
Well, I've known Senator Land for quite a while, probably from the 70s, from meeting him at a gas station, I think it was. With regards to, I know that he has a long history of services to the community, a long history of being active in the community and serving in public office. Like Reverend Winn here, I believe that our emphasis, or whoever the person is, which I believe will be myself, should be placed on how to employ the state and but more particularly, how to employ the people of Senate District 36. I believe that we should put our emphasis on doing things different that Senator Land has not done or had not done. I believe that we should put our emphasis on education, financing education. I don't believe that Senator Land gave it his all in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mr. Kent, your turn.
35 years old. That's how old John Land was when he took office. People tend to forget that he was probably closer to my age than anybody else on the stage. So as a 35-year-old attorney, he went into the Senate and he fought for the people in the district. He was an attorney. He used his legal experience and his legal background and his ability to convince people inside of the district to work together. His big thing was public education. He was a tireless fighter, and he is a tireless fighter for public education. I believe in education. The question was, what am I going to do similar or different to him? We're going to fight for education, but we're not just going to limit it to public education. We need to make sure we're fighting for everybody in the district, not just the public education, but the private education too. Everybody in the district, every child needs an education. So we're going to take on John Land's belief on public school education, but we're also going to involve everybody all together. So to put it in a nutshell, he was an attorney. He was 35 years old. He was close to my age. He fought for a very long time for the district, and he was very big on education.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I am very pleased and honored to be the one candidate that Senator Land looked out to and encouraged to run out of all the folks in the four-county district that he could have asked to run to succeed him. He chose me, and I'm honored for that. And as Shaun said, there's never been any doubt of Senator Land's dedication and devotion to public education. And he has been sometime the lone champion for public education, and I plan to continue that. Education is a key in South Carolina. If we're talking about economic development or health care, whatever we might want to talk about as the major issues, education is a key, and we're going to champion that cause. I think Senator Land did a great job in that area, and I plan to continue to work for education. And as Shaun said, we have more than just public education, and as a sitting House member, I voted in favor of several bills that would also benefit private school education.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
All right, we have another question. Before we go any further, I want to remind the candidates, please make sure you speak into the microphones as you're giving your addresses so our radio audience can hear you. And I know a couple of you kind of soft-spoken, so make sure you angle the mic toward you and speak directly into it when you do that. Our next question is another panel-wide question. At the State House, gentlemen, there are several different committees on which senators serve, which are the places the most proposed legislation truly starts. If elected, which committee or committees are you hoping to serve on, and why? We'll begin with Mr. Carter.
Well, I hope that I get an opportunity to serve on Education Committee and the Judicial Committee. And I would like to serve on the Education Committee because, as I indicated earlier, I believe that we should put more emphasis on education within the state and particularly within rural districts such as ours. I'd like to serve on the Education Committee because I believe that we should do more to finance schools, particularly rural schools and particularly public schools. I think we should put our emphasis more on public schools than just putting an emphasis on, other private schools. I believe that our first priority is to the public. I'd like to serve on the Judicial Committee because I believe that there are legislations that a lot of attention should be placed on and that the law should be followed in doing it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kent.
Thank you so much. Ethics. The Ethics Committee. Right now there's a push over in Sumter, South Carolina with two of our representatives over there, David Weeks and Merle Smith, that we want to get back to some transparency and some accountability to what's going on in our State House. Right now, our legislators don't have to tell you everything they got. It's probably the easiest way to say it. They don't have to show you all your emails. They don't have to show you all the money they have. And that's a problem. We're electing people and we don't know everything about them. We're not vetting the people that we're actually electing. And so I love the fact that this is one of the true bipartisan issues that we have in the state right now. We have a Republican and a Democrat, David Weeks and Merle Smith, working together to get a little ethics reform and trying to make sure everybody in the state of South Carolina knows what everybody's doing. It's transparency and accountability. It's a committee that I'd love to be a part of.
All right. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir. It looks like Shaun and I will agree a lot tonight because although I would serve on any committee and work hard that I'm appointed to, I also would like to serve on the Ethics Committee. I believe in accountability. I believe in transparency. When I was with the municipal government, I was one that believed in the Freedom of Information Act and making sure that everything we do is open and above board. All of my emails are accessible. All my votes in the House are accessible. All my ethics forms that I've been following for 20-some odd years are open and available to the public, and I know that's going to be one of the major topics that we're going to, one of the first topics we're going to deal with when we get back in January.
All right, and Mr. Winn.
Well, when you enter into the Senate, you were going as a junior senator, and basically the only two committees that you're really going to have a chance, the only two committees that there are that you can start out with is the Judiciary Committee and the Finance Committee. But basically, as a junior senator, you will start out in the Judiciary Committee. And what we'll do is work whatever committee that is available I'm a major advocate of education. I believe education first and foremost, and we will work very hard and tirelessly to work towards that. Those are the things that we want to start with. But basically, when you go into the Senate, you're not going to just walk in and say, well, I'm going to work on this committee. Everything is already established. You go in, you're going to have to work with those that are already established. The older people, the older senators, the senior senators are the ones that actually work in the Finance Committee. That's where, monies are allocated, stuff such as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. Our next question, as it was pointed out a little bit earlier by each of you, you've kind of touched on this, but District 36, although the lines have been changed a little bit recently, it represents portions of 4 counties, including a large portion of Sumter County, as well as all of Clarendon County. The point we have here is that a lot of these local governments, specifically between Clarendon and Sumter, often operate in different directions. Recently, Sumter County, which has a population over 100,000, combined its 2 school districts into a single district, while Clarendon County, with a population of only 35,000, continues to have 3 separate school districts. The question, is it time for consolidation to come to Clarendon County, or did Sumter County err when it consolidated its 2 districts? Mr. Kent, we start with you.
So I get the first scary question.
Yeah.
It is the definition of a hot button issue in Clarendon County. I'm going to tell you that honestly. I've been to parts in Turbeville, and I've got some of our Turbeville fans over there, and if you mention consolidation, they try to push you off a bridge. You mentioned it in Clarendon County. In Clarendon County, they say there's too much money being spent on administrators and superintendents and things of that nature. The one we mentioned earlier, John Landon, the things that he did that were very accurate, what he did was he listened to the people. And I got to give him credit to that when it came to consolidation. It was an issue that he stayed away from because the people just weren't ready for it. I hope that we get to the point where we get to consolidation. I really do. At the very necessary, you don't have to consolidate all 3 school districts and make them necessarily one. You can let the school districts keep their identity, but there's a scare of, do you really need 3 superintendents? Do you really need 3 administrative officers? Do you really need all these administrators when this money can go back to the school district? There's a little line, how do you move a rope? Is it easier to pull it or is it easier to push it? We got to figure out which one's easier. Do we have to push or pull that rope? Unfortunately, I think we got to pull it.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Whether or not to consolidate school districts has always been a choice of the people in that district. That's what happened in Sumter County when they had the referendum and it passed. And that issue has come up several times here in Clarendon County because we have 3 school districts. I was appointed to a board, a committee several years ago by Clarendon County Council, and we studied that very same issue. But the bottom line is that it's something that you have to listen to the people and see what they want. Not that they make the final decision, but you have to feel the pulse of the community, because the last thing you want to do is do something as major as that and cause a disruption in the community. So I'm looking forward to getting to Columbia, working with my constituents in Clarendon County on that issue, and see if we can come up with something that's going to be best. Even my years on the school board, every decision has to be what's best for the students. And I think that's what we'll look at as far as consolidation, what's going to be best as we try to provide an excellent education to the students.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Winn.
Considering consolidation, I'm an advocate, don't reinvent the wheel. Sumter is already doing it. We have the opportunity to watch what Sumter's doing, to learn from it. My concept is that we are in a deficit. When you have 3 schools, three major entities, we got to look at the cost of all of these entities. What is best for the students is getting funds back to the students. We need to streamline, figure out what is best. If consolidating would work for the students, work for everyone, then we need to consolidate. If keeping it the way it is will work, but one of the things that I'm re-advocating is the mere fact we have an opportunity to watch how Sumter works. If it works, then we need to move towards working in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. And finally, Mr. Carter.
Yes. The question is, should we consolidate the school districts here in Clarendon County, which with the population of less than 35,000 in comparison to Sumter with the population pushing around 100,000? I believe that consolidation is an issue for the people of the community, the voters of the community. Sumter's voters elected to consolidate their school districts. I've listened to board members from Sumter School District, which has indicated that they were strongly against it, but now that they have it, they're proud of it, and they're proud of it because it is working for their district. For Clarendon County, Again, I think that the citizens should make the decision on that matter. However, one of the reasons I said that I'm interested in running for the position of Senate District 36 is looking into financing. Would financing make a difference if we consolidated the district, or would just leaving it as it is? I'm kind of for leaving it as it is.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
All right, gentlemen, this is another panel-wide question, and this will be our final question before our first commercial break. And here's your question. Gentlemen, according to the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, Clarendon County currently has an unemployment rate of 14%, while Sumter County has an unemployment rate of 10.7%. Now, both of these are well above both the state and national averages. What is the one thing from a legislative perspective that can be done to lower these rates? And we'll begin with Mr. Johnson for this one.
Okay, thank you. One thing, the main thing that can be done is what I've done consistently as mayor. We have to make sure that we have things in place that job providers are looking for. We have to make sure that we have the water and sewer infrastructure, the natural gas, the railway, all the amenities that even the executives of these companies are looking for. And we have done that. We've spent a lot of money over the years with the help of state government and federal government to make sure that we have what the job providers are looking for, and also the fact that we are probably the only rural county in South Carolina that experienced growth during the last census. And the other thing that we have done, I say we, as I look at Dr. Hardy out there, Central Carolina Technical College being in Clarendon County is also an asset as we seek to sell ourselves to job providers as a place to come. So I think what we need to do is make sure that as this economy turns around, we have the things in place that they're looking for, that we can attract them to come to Clarendon County.
All right. Mr. Winn?
As we work towards getting jobs in Clarendon County, you have the tire company that just moved into Sumter County. There's going to be subsidiaries that will connect itself with that company. What we need to do now is work towards searching, researching, going and finding out what companies are coming in and getting things in place. Once again, advocate education. We need to make sure that our community is trained. Jobs are looking for a trained workforce. These are the things that we have to get back. Once again, I'm going to repeat myself, get back to the core value. We have to have people that have developed good work ethics, and our work ethics start from grade school all the way through college. We have to have those things in our community. When jobs come, we not only do we want them to come, but we want them to maintain themselves in this county. And that's what we're going to have to do, get to the basics.
All right, Mr. Carter.
Sometimes when I listen to answers, I get thrown off with the question. The question is, what can be done to reduce the 14% in Clarendon and the 10.7% in Sumter with regards to legislation? I am a firm believer that aside from bringing in industry into a community, and if you can't just bring the industry into a community, you have to look at other ways of bringing about employment. I'm a firm believer that we should seek monies from the government, from the federal government. If the federal government makes monies available for bridges, constructions, any type of infrastructure, monies available for education, for the Department of Education, we should have legislators, House of Representative members, and senators who are willing to fight to make sure that our governor accepts any monies that's available for us, any monies that's available for teacher pay hikes. Thank you.
Mr. Kent.
Einstein said the definition of insanity is the doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. To answer a question and simply say we're going to do what we've done for quite some time and expect a different result is insanity. And you can't say what we're going to do to fix the problem is just wait. Waiting is not the answer. When we get into Columbia and we're standing there and we're trying to fix problems, the number one thing we need to do is fix the problem. Before this debate today, I actually drove to the Clarendon County Industrial Park. I don't know if any of you have been there, but you see a bunch of political signs. The number one political sign at the industrial park is for sale. That's not a good political sign. What we need to do as senators is we need to increase some type of business tax basis so we can get businesses to come there when we reduce the taxes for these individuals, when we can go from our 4% to our 2% to help these mega sites so they can afford to come into Clarendon County. Federal mogul left for a reason. Companies left for a reason. What we need to do as senators is look at our Swiss cheese tax code, fix it so businesses, people with second homes want to come back and invest back into a county. There's a reason we're so high.
All right, gentlemen, that concludes our first round of questioning. We are going to, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back and continue this. Of course, you're listening live on WDXY 1240 AM, 105.9 FM, also on Z95.5 to this debate for the Senate District 36. There are 4 candidates with us this evening. This is being sponsored by the Item and Miller Communications, and we'll be right back after this.
Back to coverage of Election 2012, candidate debates and forums on WDXY and WIBZ.
And of course, my name is Derek Burris. I'm the host of the Good Morning Sumter Show on WDXY, 1240 AM and 105.9 FM. Also with me this evening is Braden Bunch. He's the business editor to the Item. And we appreciate our friends from the Item helping to sponsor these series of debates. And this is the first one that we're doing. We'll be doing some other ones for other races in the weeks ahead. But tonight we're here in Manning to talk to the folks that are offering themselves for the Senate District 36 race. And we're going to begin a round of questions that are going to be targeted toward individual candidates. And our first one is going to go to candidate number 1, and that's Reverend Leon Winn. And Reverend Winn, this question is for you. You're the Republican nominee for a Senate district that rarely supports Republicans. In fact, if you look at the numbers from the last election, had District 36 been the only ones to choose, Alvin Green, not Jim DeMint, would be U.S. Senator. Why do you think you'll be able to break through in this area where so many Republicans before have failed?
First and foremost, I don't believe in failure. If I was in a fight with a bear and the bear won, I didn't fail, I didn't lose. What I realized, never jump up on a bear again. I'm from an old concept. There's never a rider that couldn't be thrown or a horse that couldn't be rode. There's time for a change. I'm a Republican. I believe in the Republican Party. I stand up on the principle of the Republican Party. I don't advocate that I'm some saint, but I very seldom travel the road that is most often traveled. If you had an opportunity to look down the corridors of my life and you see where I came from, nothing for me has never been easy. I have to fight for everything I've got. I had to work for everything that I've achieved. No one has given me nothing. It's not going to be easy now, but I know that we can accomplish this. If there's an opportunity to do it, I've taken the opportunity, and we're going to get it done. I'm saying this unequivocally. I'm in it to win it because my last name is Winn.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. Our next question is for Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, you recently made news, unfortunately in an unfavorable light, for your law practice by receiving a public reprimand from the state Supreme Court for what they said was violations of several rules of professional conduct. You responded publicly to the charges by saying they came in part because of your status as a public figure. In order to clarify, do you think the reprimand would have occurred if you weren't running for office? And if not, how does that explain the previous letters of caution you had received from the court?
Okay. Thank you. I was hoping you asked that question. And the question is, as a running for public office, why do I believe that played a factor?
Correct.
This charge came about from 2009, and after having some conversation with the Supreme Court or the panel about it, the matter sort of died out in 2009 and ultimately concluded itself sometime around 2010. After that time period, there was nothing else to be heard or said about this matter until after I sought the office of South Carolina State Senate for Senate District 36. I believe that it is politically motivated because I believe that, if I had not been a public official, a public figure running for a public office, I would not have gotten the attention. And by getting the attention, a lot of times people don't want you to hold an office. And when they don't want you to hold an office, there are people who sit back in secrecy and they hunt things and they bring those things to life. Those persons who might be interested in doing stuff like this would be people pulling for a political opponent of mine. Thank you.
All right. Our next individual question will be directed to Mr. Kent. And Mr. Kent, here is yours. During this election, you've been cast by some of the other candidates as the outsider in this race, portrayed as not being in tune with the needs of the district. At the same time, according to the State Ethics Commission, nearly 60% of the funds you've raised for your campaign that haven't come out of your own pocket have come from donors living outside the district. How do you balance the argument that you'll be able to best represent the voters of District 36 when so many of your financial backers live elsewhere?
District 36 is broke. Let's get that straight right now. There's not a lot of money inside of the district. And to go to these individuals and beg for money and get money out of their pockets is really unsavory at times. I'm not from the district. I haven't hidden the fact that I'm not from the district. I'm not embarrassed by the fact that I'm not from the district, Derek, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to try to help the district. I have ties all over the state of South Carolina. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. I went to high school in Goose Creek, South Carolina. I went to law school, and I went to undergrad at the University of South Carolina, Aiken. My donations come from everybody all over the state. That's what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a hodgepodge where you can get connections, where you can help things out, because it really is all about connections. I'm not embarrassed not to be from here, because for 10 years straight, I got in my car every day and drove to Clarendon County because I love where in the world I am. I'm here right now because I love Clarendon County. I'm not embarrassed by the fact that I have friends outside of the district, because that allowed me to look at the district and say it needs some changes, because I come up there with a different vision.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. And the last question for our individual questions for the candidates obviously goes to you, Representative Johnson. Representative Johnson, during your abbreviated term in the House of Representatives, you sponsored or co-sponsored 20 different pieces of legislation. However, only 3 of those were actually able to get anywhere out of committee. If elected as a senator, how do you plan to work in the future in a more bipartisan effort if, in fact, as it most likely will be, the House and the Senate are still controlled by the Republican Party?
Yes, and that's just the life of a freshman legislator. You don't get very many bills passed. You go up there, you work, you introduce bills. But one thing that I have learned in my short tenure in the House of Representatives, if you want to get bills out of committee, if you want to get bills passed, you got to build coalitions, you got to network, you have to communicate with the senior leadership. And that's what I spent my 1.5 years in the House doing. And I feel like because of that network that I built and those coalitions that I built, that I'll have much greater success in getting bills out of committee going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, we get back to our forum questions, our panel questions, and we return to, as you look on your sheets, now the order's going to change around a little bit slightly. This will start with you, Mr. Winn, but then it'll go to Mr. Johnson, then Mr. Kent, then Mr. Carter. The question is as such. As several of you are aware, during this election season, there were several snafus, to put it lightly, regarding statewide election laws and candidate registration that forced the removal of several candidates of partisan ballots statewide. If elected, what changes, if any, would you personally propose to the state election laws? Mr. Winn, we start with you.
As I stated from the beginning, when all this stuff happened, it's just by the grace of God that I was able to stay on. I was not cut off, and just by having the right people in place that helped me. One of the things that I would change is make sure nothing like this, an atrocity, would ever happen again. I think this was a break in the backbone of our democracy where it pertains to South Carolina, because it is actually an embarrassing state. If it was me as one individual and I made a mistake, so, okay, I made a mistake. But 200 people don't make the same mistake. It was not, I reiterate, it was not their fault. You have Shaun sitting here. I've had Shaun to come to my church, and I had him to have people to sign. I made that invitation to anybody that wanted. We need to fix what was broken, find out the problem, and repair it. Just fix it. It's a simple problem. Simplicity is the key. We always try to make things more complicated than what it is. Find out what happened, and don't ever let it happen again. And I would adamantly work towards doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I need about more than 2 minutes to answer this question, but I'll just be brief.
Well, you're only getting one.
Yes, okay, I get one. What we have resulted into a huge mess, and I will preface my remarks by letting you know that as a sitting member of the House, I was prepared to vote to put everybody back on the ballot. But the simple fact is the fact that the law is a law, and despite what anybody says, that law was clear and that law was easy to understand. It clearly said, this is what you have to do in order to have your name on the ballot. And several people throughout the state, some 200-some-odd people, did not follow the law for whatever reason. And I understand how that could be misunderstood, because I say that to me it makes no sense to go online, do your SEI, get a confirmation number that you filed it, and just fail to turn it in. But we have two candidates that didn't even do that. I still say that the Supreme Court was correct when they said that the law was clear and it was simple.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Kent.
Through the course of this election, I've met some amazing people who have also unfortunately found themselves off of the ballot. Pizza Red is in the back of the room. Jerome McCrae is here. These are people who are good people who just want to do the right thing. To stand here right now and say the law is the law and say, look, all these guys just messed up is a farce. To sit here and say the law is the law and that's all there is to it. I sat there in a park in Paxville and I listened to Representative Johnson look out at a crowd of people and say, look, don't support petition candidates. When all these people are sitting there sweating in the middle of the summer trying to get people to sign their petitions because they just wanted to do the right thing. And then to hear the representative say, look, the law is the law, and then less than 2 months later was out getting petitions himself because he wasn't sure that he had followed the law properly himself. It's positively hilarious.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Mr. Carter.
At the beginning, this session, after voting time for filing had begun, some people started saying that I did not tell, as the filing officer for the Democratic Party, that I did not tell candidates about things that they had to do. I sort of tag team a little bit with Shaun when I say, if you have somebody talking about people not following the law, of all the candidates in the Clarendon County that filed for office, only one candidate supposedly filed the documents properly. What I would submit to you is this. If that candidate had that knowledge and supposed to be a leader in the community and a leader for the Democratic Party, why didn't that candidate share that information? But instead, what that candidate indicated was that Senator Land had brought somebody down from the Senate committee to help me file. Well, if that candidate had that information, he should have shared it, and he should have made sure that Clarendon County got an opportunity to elect the people they want in the Democratic primary.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
All right, gentlemen, another panel-wide question, and we'll go in this order for the answers. Mr. Carter, Mr. Winn, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Kent. Last year, the General Assembly passed but was unable to override the governor's veto of the I-95 Corridor Authority Act. Now, supporters of the bill said the new authority would be able to aid in economic development and educational improvement in a part of the state that needs it the most, while opponents say the proposal simply created a redundant government agency with little accountability to the voters. Would you support an attempt to create this agency again, and why or why not? And again, Mr. Carter, we'll start with you.
My answer is yes. Anything that brings about monies from the federal government, that brings about employment, is a benefit to the corridor. It's a benefit to Clarendon County because we're in the corridor. Again, my answer is simply yes.
All right. Mr. Winn?
I must agree with Brother Carter. Anything that's going to benefit the county. The corridor is shame. One of the things that I want to advocate is Brown versus Board of Education in the history book. Briggs versus Elliott is the actual name of the case. Education in America was founded in Clarendon County. Allow me to reiterate. Education in the United States of America was based on what happened in Clarendon County. Somebody, somewhere, somehow, tell me how did Clarendon County get so far behind? Bringing in more resources, I will work with every resources we can find to help bring about that change. We need to bring about that change. We need to look at the people that's already been here. And the people that's already been here, and you want to have these people right back doing the same thing again? That's ludicrous.
All right. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. I voted for the I-95 corridor bill. It passed the House. It passed the Senate. The governor vetoed it. We couldn't override the veto. Now, as far as this election thing, these guys were going around the whole time of the election bragging about, I'm a lawyer. I'm a good lawyer. You got to have a lawyer in the Senate. How the hell I'm supposed to know they don't understand the law? It's not my, I told every candidate, I said, look, if you need help, let me know. I'll be glad to help you. Nobody said, I don't know what I'm doing. They were saying they were good lawyers, and you got to have lawyers. So if they didn't get it right, they didn't take responsibility for that and start with themselves. They had blamed everybody except for themselves took me to court, sued me and everything because they messed up. I file this form every year. I file it every year. And my form is on file. Now, if you want to go to Columbia and pass laws for the people, you have to know how to understand the law. It's as simple as that.
Mr. Kent?
The I-95 corridor of shame is just that. It's a corridor of shame. The fact that we actually have something that runs through Clarendon County that we call the corridor of shame is embarrassing. We can sit here and we can clap and we can applaud, but there's something in Clarendon County called the corridor of shame. And we brag and we scream about the fact that we have these experienced leaders who've been here time and time again, and we have something in our county called the corridor of shame. Now, to get back to the question about filing incorrectly, let's make it very clear. I messed up. I didn't file correctly. I hold that, and I've admitted that to anyone who says. I don't blame Eleazer Carter. I don't blame the state. The filing is my responsibility, and that's why I had to run as a petition candidate. My problem is there are 9 folks in Clarendon County, some of my very good friends, who all didn't file correctly. And what we need is not somebody who says, look, I was going to vote. What we need someone is to stand up, fight for Pete Surratt, fight for Jerome McCray, fight for these people who wasn't there to fight for themselves. We need somebody who's going to fight for the little guy. These are our representatives. These are the people who are supposed to fight for us. That's why you elect these people, not to sit here and say, ha ha, y'all messed up. You must fight for the people who can't fight for themselves. If you're not going to do it, why run?
All right, we'll see if this time we can stay on topic. We'll find out. For our next question, and we will start, you got me even confused. We'll start with Mr. Kent. Here we go. Believe it or not, this has absolutely nothing to do with election law unless you manage to find it a way to. According to the State Department of Health and Environmental Control, in the region that includes District 36, more than 1 out of every 3 adults are officially obese. Few adults participate in leisure time physical activity, and the area has an above average level of diabetes. As a senator, what, if anything, could you do to try to improve the health of those living in District 36? Mr. Kent, we start with you.
This was actually one of my original platforms. I'm very fortunate that I work with some amazing lawyers, Steve McKenzie, Ray Chandler, Scott Robinson, and they give me the privilege to work out every day at lunch from 12 to 1 o'clock at the Zone. I'm big on health. I'm big on people taking care of themselves because I really believe if you're going to be here, you've got to be here. If you're not going to make it 10 years from now, you can't represent folks. So what you have to do is you have to take care of themselves. As a senator, what we can do is we can pass certain mandates that eliminate sodas in schools, that eliminate Coca-Colas in schools, things of that nature. And what we can do is we can have some restrictions on our fast food chains. We can have restrictions that when you go into these fast food restaurants, what you have is mandatory. Tell us what is the caloric intake inside of these places. What we can do is we can educate our children inside of the school system. I am worried about our children. I'm worried about the obesity levels inside of schools. Some people don't care about it. I do, because if we're not around, we're not going to become a productive society.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Mr. Carter.
No, sorry.
I believe that in dealing with obesity, we have to start with the kids in schools. Now, I believe that adults who tend to have a lot more control of themselves, adults who may be in the obesity range, particularly like myself, that there's not a lot that you can do or tell an adult about. You can tell them about their diet, but there's not a lot you can do to make them change their diet. I believe that if we're going to deal with obesity, we will have to start with the young people. We will have to start with those that are in the school systems, particularly elementary kids as they gradually grow into a higher grade area. I do believe that unless we do that, obesity will continue to grow, and I think that the only thing we can do is pass legislation that deals with the food that are being served in the schools.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mr. Winn.
Diabetes run in my family. I've had several members to die because of the results of diabetes. I'm a faith-based person. One of the things that I'm going to take it out of the government. You can't legislate morality. You can't legislate people eating. The law cannot legislate that. Nobody's going to put a muffler on your face, a muffler on your mouth to keep you from eating. To get people to lose weight, you can exercise is good, but it's a lifestyle change. One of the things that I would like to advocate is churches get involved. We look at members. I'm involved. I will, on Sunday mornings, every year, I constantly tell people you need to exercise. I talk about health issues on a weekly basis. You want to change the people, you got to start at the house. We can put it in legislation, but legislation, we're not going to legislate what I'm going to eat, what I'm not going to eat. That's a personal preference. And that's the thing we got to work on. We got to work on the mental psyche of people to get them to change their habits. It's a lifestyle change. It's not just a legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I tend to agree with all of the above. The bad thing is that a lot of people are like me. We love cheeseburgers and fries and Mountain Dews and those types of things. And what we have to do, we have to recognize that in the Clarendon health systems, we have one of the best rural hospitals in the state of South Carolina, probably in the Southeast. And we just have to continue to work and educate. It's actually going to be more of an education thing than it will be a legislation thing. We have to let people know, such as myself and others, that those things, although they taste good and we crave them, they're not good for us. We just have to educate the citizens to live a more healthy lifestyle.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
All right. And our final panel question for this evening, and this is an interesting one. One of the topics that seem to pop up every year in Columbia, gentlemen, is the potential elimination of the Budget and Control Board. South Carolina is currently the only state in the union with such an office, with 5 top-level elected officials overseeing a committee that handles most of the administrative duties of the state. Is it time for the Budget and Control Board to be replaced, and why? Or why not? And we'll begin this round of questioning with Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. The elimination of the Budget Control Board, or either the implementing the Department of Administration, is one of Governor Haley's top priorities. There are pluses and minuses. It comes up every year, and every year she threatens to keep us in session because of that. I expect that it's going to be a hot issue this year, and I would not be at all surprised if it doesn't pass this year. I don't have a problem with that. The only concern I have is that when you give that much power to one person, the governor, sometimes, depending on who the governor is, it's going to work well, and sometimes it may not work well. But it's going to be a hot issue. It's going to be a priority this year, and I would not be surprised if it passed. One thing that would make me kind of lean toward it is the way that the Budget Control Board, after we left Columbia, reversed and went back and changed the budget to take out the part of the budget where we funded to take care of the employees' portion of the health insurance increase. When those types of things happen, it makes you want to eliminate the board and go with the Department of Administration.
All right, Mr. Kent.
I actually agree with Kevin. I think we should remove it. Anytime you can cut any government fat, especially the way that the economy is going right now, you have to cut the governmental fat. There is the concern that we have a Republican governor, and she might have a little bit too much control if we end up cutting the Budget and Control Board. But sometimes you just got to cut the fat. You just got to go through, and you've got to trust the people that we elect. You have to trust them to do the right things. We have to cut the board. The fact that we have a checks and balance system inside of one individual entity doesn't make a lot of sense. It's almost like you're creating jobs just to create jobs. For that reason, I wholeheartedly support the cut.
All right, Mr. Carter.
I do not support the cutting or doing away with the Budget and Control Board, and I do not support that because I believe that as with anything, you need to have a last check and balance system on whatever it is. If we have legislation or that goes by and that legislation creates bills or something that does away with something that supports the community, then that board should be there as a last resort to give it either a final approval or to do away with something that's not beneficial to the state. I don't think it should be based on whether we have a Republican governor or a Democratic governor. What it should be, it should exist such that whoever the governor is, hopefully that person will exercise authority appropriately.
And Mr. Winn.
My key on that is accountability. What is the Budget and Control Board accomplishing? We have a deficit. Having them to remain in the position of, are they doing anything that they're earning their keep, or they're earning what they're receiving? If they're not earning it, we want to cut the budget. We want to get away with wasteful spending. We have to go and find out where the wasteful spendings are. Cut it. It's hard. It's hard, but you have to cut it. Let me say it in the most simplistic term. I said this the other night. I have X amount of dollars coming into my household. I have X amount of dollars being spent out. Because of this recession, I have more going out than what I had coming in. I had to make some drastic cuts. Some of them are embarrassing, some of them are hard, but it had to be made. Some of them hurt. I had to give up some things I didn't want to give up because it hurt. We're going to have to cut. If we're going to balance this budget, we're going to have to cut out wherever wasteful spending at. If Budget Control Board is one of it, then we need to cut it out.
Thank you, Mr. Winn. And thank all of our candidates for being here tonight for our forum. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm impressed that I didn't have to call time on a single one of them at any time. So let's give them all a round of applause to begin with right now. Now, of course, I may have just jinxed ourselves when they have their closing arguments to come up here in just a second. But before they do, I'd like to let everyone here in the audience know that at the end of the night as we are leaving, on the right-hand side of the table, there is going to be an exit poll that we'd like you to participate in. It asks 3 simple questions. Who do you think did the best job tonight? Who do you plan on voting for if you live in the district? And did tonight's forum sway your vote? The results of that will be posted on the item's website. But now we turn to the closing arguments and we return to our original order. Mr. Winn, you have the floor.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I take great pride in being among you. I'm a part of this community. I have a church that's in this community. I moved to this community. And to be very simplistic, I think these guys are wonderful, wonderful individuals. I give them best wishes, but I just want you to vote for me. As simple as that. I need your vote, and I'm not ashamed to ask for it. I'm the best man for the job. My last name, does anybody know my last name? Winn. You can win with Winn. Thank you.
Mr. Carter.
Again, I'd like to thank all of you all for being here and allowing us this opportunity to be here to address you about where we stand on issues and to give you an opportunity to see the candidates and to make judgments on the questions that were asked. If you paid attention to the questions, did the candidate actually answer the question, or did the candidate filibustered his answer to the question? As Reverend Winn just indicated, I'm here to ask you for your vote. And I want you to give me your vote because I believe that I am the better candidate. I believe that I do stand stronger. I have the leadership skills to this position. I have the leadership skills both from school and in the military. So please, on November 6th, please keep me in mind and give me your vote. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kent.
Derek Braden, thank you all so much for hosting. Thank you everybody for coming out. It's been very exciting. It's very exciting to see all of these people on the stage all saying their views. 10 years ago, I came to Clarendon County. One of the first people I met is in the back of the room, Randy Garrett, our sheriff. He told me, we had a little battle over a bag of sugar. Y'all can ask him about it later. But one of the things that he told me was be nice to people and they'll be nice back to you. He said this is a good place and there's some good people in here and what you need to do is look out for them. And that's what I've tried to do for the 10 years that I've been here. It's good to be on stage with 3 Democratic individuals who have Democratic views. It's really good to run. It's exciting to run. It's exciting to put my positions forward. It's exciting to show the district that I have something to offer. 35, 35, 36. 35, Phil Levinas, that's how old he was when he ran. 35, John Land, that's how old he was when he ran. 36, Barack Obama. That's how old he was when he ran for Senate the first time. I'm not any of those guys, but I want to start my career out the same way they did, represent the people that they care about, and fight for everybody in the district. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to fight. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make Braden hold that little red.
You're going to make me hold it up there. Time.
There you go.
And we close our night with Representative Johnson.
Thank you very much. I want to thank our sponsors again and thank my fellow candidates and thank everyone in the audience. And 25, that's how old I was when I started getting involved in civic affairs, which means I have the experience. I know that I have opponents who want to put me down for having experience. They want to say we need change, but that's what you do when you don't have experience. I have the experience. I have the leadership ability. I have the strength. I have the stamina to go back to Columbia and continue what I've been doing over the years. A lot of folks say there's not anything that has been done. I don't have time. here's a whole list of things we've done over the last 30 years. Anybody can have a copy of it. In the last year or so alone, we bought $46 million into Clarendon County. I am proud of my endorsements, endorsed by the conservation voters of South Carolina, the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, the South Carolina Education Association, and the strong endorsement of Senator John Land, who's retiring. And so I want you all to take a close look at all of us and make the decision who's best able to go to Columbia and represent you after so many years of hard, dedicated service by Senator Land. Thank you.
All right. 50, that's the age I am as we wrap this debate up. And again, we want to thank our audience here, a great crowd tonight here at the F.E. DuBose Center. Also, we want to thank our listening audience. Don't forget, next Tuesday night, we'll be having another forum. This one will be at the Sumter Opera House for our candidates for mayor of the city of Sumter. Also, our city council candidates. That'll be at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Opera House. We encourage you to attend. If you can't do that, you can also catch it once again here on WDXY 1240 AM, 105.9 FM, and also simulcast on Z95.5. The following Tuesday after that, on October the 30th, we'll be having another debate between the candidates for Senate District 35. That would be Tony Barwick and Thomas McElveen. That will be at the Central Carolina Technical College's Allied Health Sciences building on South Main Street in Sumter. Once again at 6 o'clock. And again, it'll be simulcast on WDXY 1240 AM, 105.9 FM, and also Z95.5. Again, we thank everybody for attending tonight. Thank the candidates for being here. Make sure everybody gets out on November 6th and vote. Have a good evening. We'll see you soon.
This has been coverage of Election 2012, candidate debates and forums. Brought to you in part by NBSC of Manning, a division of Synovus Bank, Stokes Craven Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Manning, the City of Manning, and Radio Shack of Manning. Keep it here for more coverage on WDXY and WIBZ.